and it is now the time for our interview with Jeremy Dixon. Jeremy, are you in the line with us? Can we hear you? Can you hear us?
Hello.
Oh,
yes.
Nice to hear you, mate. Oh, happy Mates Day, by the way, Jeremy. You are one of my mates that cooks the best.
It's awesome. Great to hear from you.
Hey, Jeremy, talk about mates and mates days. I think that, good mates, they encourage each other to, get stronger and healthier. And one of the things that I've been quite interested at the moment, and we've been discussing, a lot of people have been really interested, is tackling that myth that, hey, if you're in a plant-based diet, you're probably going to be protein deficient. And last time that we spoke about a month and a half ago, you shared with us that no, actually tofu and tempeh are really versatile and protein absolutely packed foods. But in this plant-based world, can we only count on tofu for protein, or are there other plants that God has created that are rich in protein and will support muscle growth, development, and just protein intake in general?
Yeah, great lead in there. Of course, there's plenty of plant-based protein, and it's a big myth that you can't get enough protein on a vegetarian or a vegan diet. There's plenty of things around. Yes, the last time I think we talked about tempeh and tofu, which is wonderful. But today I thought I'd share some other ones that we use extensively through my cookbooks and cafes that not only have reasonable good levels of protein, but they're really delicious, really easy, and super, super cheap.
All right. So what plants are we talking about?
So the first one I think is one of my most favourite one is red lentils, or lentils in general. And you can get many different kinds of lentils. If you buy like an Indian dal from an Indian shop, that'll usually have red lentils in. You can get brown lentils and black lentils and green lentils as well. But my most favourite lentil is the red lentil. And the good news is in 1 cup of red lentils, there's 18 grams of protein. So
wow.
That's quite a significant amount.
That's cooked or uncooked?
The good thing that's uncooked.
Mm-hmm.
So basically to cook them, they're just so easy. It's so quick. Basically, you take 1 cup of red lentils and probably 3.5 to 4 cups of water, and then you basically simmer it for about 15 minutes, and bang, you've got this lovely kind of dal-looking thing. You can add onions to it, salt, garlic, any means of other things. Even by itself, it's quite delicious. And that's a great base for making dals or curries or adding to soups and things. So red lentils, and they're so cheap as well. So red lentils is probably your number one starting point. At my cafe each day, we have a different dal of the day. And so often we're using red lentils and making these amazing dals. And it's just such an amazing, high protein, delicious. And it's kind of quite a nice meaty kind of, not super meaty taste, but it's kind of, you eat it and you kind of know you're eating, you kind of know you're eating protein. It's quite a nice product.
Yeah, there is. I remember the first time that I had red lentils, because in Brazil, they were not very common and popular. I remember that when they arrived there about 10 or so years ago, I had them and my mind just blown away. It's like, wow, this is so delicious. And depending on how you make it, actually can taste a little bit like chicken.
True. Yep. There's many different ingredients you can kind of put with it. Exactly. No, they're really, really good. So I'd recommend, get a big bag of red lentils in your pantry, and it'll just change your life.
Amazing. So red lentils, this is like one shining star in the constellation of protein-rich foods. And I love how you simplified, just like chuck 2.5 cups to 4 cups of water, season with salt, pepper, bit of garlic and onion, and off you go. Or if you want to make it something more fancy, you can. What else do we have here in our list here that we can also go to for a packed meal? And you mentioned just before but you mentioned other kinds of lentils. How do you cook them?
So in a similar way. So basically, water and just boil them. So some of them will take a bit longer. So red lentils are the quickest. Brown lentils is quite nice, especially if you want to add it to a lasagna or something like that, and or a curry or a soup or a stew or a casserole. But definitely cook them off first usually, so you've got them cooked. So brown lentils can take up to half an hour, and they go a bit mushy. But one of my favourite ones is actually the French poi lentils or green lentils, and they're really cool because they keep their shape. So they go soft and they keep their shape. So they're really nice for salads and when you kind of want to still have a little bit of texture, where some of the other lentils go like a little bit mushy. So they're really good as well. So, and also if you go down to your local Indian shop, you'll find another probably 5 different types of random lentils and split peas and things that you can use, and just give them a go, and they're all quite fun.
In my supermarket near my home, I just recently saw white lentils. That's actually a novelty to me. Have you tried them before? Are they nice?
That might be the urid dal, is it? There's a urid lentil, which sometimes comes with a black coating, and sometimes they kind of polish it off, so it might be that urid one. And that's really good for making things like doses and things like that. So that's really a really nice lentil as well. Yeah, so that's the one I'm thinking of. It's a really cool one to have as well. It's got a bit of a more earthy taste to it, but it's a really, really good one to use as well. Oh, the other thing about lentils I need to tell you about is you can make lentil flatbread. And that's where you basically get red lentils, get some cold water, blend it up in a blender. You may need to let it sit and soak a bit till you've got a really super smooth kind of paste. And so basically it's like a pancake mix. Then you get your hot pan out, a little bit of oil or a non-stick pan. You pour this pancake mix in, or this lentil mix, which is just lentils and water and a little bit of salt. And you basically, after a couple of minutes, you get these beautiful flatbreads.
So you don't need you don't need to cook them prior to blending them?
No, you don't want to cook. No, if you cook them, it changes the whole texture, so they need to be raw. If you cook them prior to that, they won't stick together. So you need to actually blend them when they're raw with some water. And you may need to soak them or blend them a couple of times just to make sure they do get totally soaked with the water. You don't want water and little bits of gritty lentils. And it becomes this amazing pancake mixture. But to answer your question, it won't work if you use pre-cooked lentils. If you use pre-cooked lentils, it won't stick together. It needs to be done cold.
And how do you season that one? Just with a bit of salt, or do you add anything to make it taste nice, or does it taste nice as it is?
So I'll often just do salt, possibly a little bit of onion and garlic powder, which is quite quick to do as well. You can add some flaked yeast if you kind of want to have a bit of a cheesy flavour. Sometimes I'll mix in a little bit of cashew butter or almond butter just to kind of give it a little bit of extra unique flavour as well. You can throw herbs in. Basically anything you can think of when you make a flatbread. And
incredible.
It's a really fun way to make things as well.
That's very cool.
And you just adjust it. It's like making any pancakes. You know, the first pancake is like your first child. They're always a kind of a practice run. So you kind of may want to adjust the kind of the consistency, add a bit more water or something until you get the consistency that kind of works with your fry pan at that particular moment.
That's a good tip. Absolutely. Very practical. So moving on from the world of lentils, who are the next heavyweight contenders here for the prize of most protein-packed plant foods?
Well, I love chickpeas. And you can use them for so many things. And 1 cup of cooked chickpeas has about 15 grams of protein. So that's pretty cool.
Wow.
And so chickpeas, again, so that's a trick. You can buy them canned in the supermarket. But if you want to save huge amounts of money and have fresh chickpeas, cook them yourself. It is just so easy. It just takes a little bit of preparation. So what you have to do is overnight you have to soak them. So basically get like a big bag of chickpeas and soak them in your biggest pot with water, and they'll expand probably 3 times. So you want to make sure you've got lots of water. It's not just cover them. You probably need 3 times the depth. And coming in the morning, they expand about 2 to 3 times. And then once they're soaked, you drain that water out, and then you put them in another pot of water and you cook those up. You basically just have it simmering, and it can take anywhere between 1 to 2 hours, depending on the age of the chickpea. And an old chickpea is not necessarily bad, but they will take a little bit longer to get soft. And so when they're soft, you pretty much pull them out. I just basically put it on the bench and kind of squeeze it with my finger. And if it easily kind of squeezes out and it's nice and soft, you know it's done. But if it's kind of blocky or hard, you kind of keep going. And then what you do is you put them in little plastic containers or whatever and put them in your freezer. And you've got an unlimited supply of chickpeas that you can use at a moment's notice. When you can use them to make hummus, use them to make curries, even just sauteed up with a little bit of olive oil and garlic. Chickpeas are amazing. So that's a great protein source. So any casserole, curry, just fry your chickpeas in. I mean, if you don't have time to cook them up ahead of time, that's fine. You can still use canned ones. But yeah, they're really good. They're really kind of quite nice and moorish. And again, 15 grams of protein per cup. That's getting pretty close to some meat products.
Absolutely. And with the chickpeas, My question is, so
Yep.
for you to do the hummus, after you freeze them, do you need to thaw them first or reheat them, or you throw them like frozen? What's the process?
So they come out of the freezer. You just basically drain them in a sieve in some hot water for about probably a minute, and they defrost really, really quickly. Making hummus, I think I've shared hummus recipes before, but yeah, making your own hummus is just a glorious thing to do.
Yeah.
Have it in the fridge to be able to add it on curries or as a dipper thing. It's just a great thing.
There's something about hummus that when you go to store-bought hummus, it tastes so artificial. And I've tried all of the brands. I've tried these expensive ones, the cheap ones. There's nothing that comes anywhere even close to homemade hummus. It's just one product that just won't surrender to industrialization, I don't think.
Exactly. There's nothing like your own freshly made hummus. Exactly.
And can you expedite that cooking process? You mentioned between 1 and 2 hours. Can you just chuck them in the pressure cook and make things quicker?
Yes, you can. Yes, that's a good question. You can make it quicker in a pressure cooker. My experience is I just like the simpleness of on the stove. You don't have to do any work. But if you are in a hurry, you can pressure cook them as well. Although I just think it's the palaver around the pressure cooker. They're great to use, but you need to open it. Are they actually cooked yet, and put it back on again? So, but yes, you can pressure cook them, and I think you can sometimes save up to half the time if you want to.
All right, and moving on to the next big group of protein heroes. What about beans? What do you make of them? Because this is a very diverse family, aren't they?
Exactly. So again, beans are wonderful, and they're very high in fiber. The cooking process is the same as chickpeas, where you can pre-cook them or you can buy them in a can. And again, they just go in everything. Any casserole or curry or anything you want, you can even make dips of them. But yeah, beans are great. Red kidney beans are great for Mexican stuff. Black beans, they cook really quickly because they're quite a bit smaller. And there's the beautiful white butter beans and other beans as well. So again, go down to your local Indian shop or your international shop, and you can find a myriad of different sizes and shapes of beans. So it's really good. Bean salads are really delicious as well. And again, you can cook them up and have them in your freezer if you want to as well. So yeah, beans, again, similar amount of protein. Most of them I think range between about 10 to 15 grams per cup of protein, 10 to 15 grams of protein per cup of cooked. So, they're really good in terms of their protein content too.
So what is the simplest way to cook those beans to make them taste nice? Because I've spoken to some of my friends that did not grow up eating beans like I do, and they look at beans and they automatically twist their noses. So what is a simple way to cook them to make them taste nice?
Okay, the number one thing that people get wrong is that they serve beans that are hard. So again, the texture is really important. And some of the canned beans you get from some of the mass producers and overseas, they don't cook them properly, so they'll come hard. And you don't get that nice Moorish kind of melt in your mouth kind of texture. So that's number one. Make sure your canned beans aren't too hard. And if you do cook them yourself, make sure you cook them properly so they're soft. That's the number one mistake people make. And secondly, it's what you cook with them. It's basically the rules of any cooking. And with vegetarian or vegan cooking, you do have to work a bit harder with your flavors. With meat, you get all that flavor of the salt and the uric acid and the blood that comes through and gives it natural flavor. Beans and chickpeas don't really come with natural flavors. You've got to work a bit harder with all your things like garlic and onion and ginger are things that are important in dishes to give them some really nice, flavors, and all the other flavors you attach to it as well. Salting it well, having herbs and spices and things. So you do have to work a bit harder to make beans taste good compared to meat.
Wow, thank you so much. Hey, Jeremy, who would have thought that there will be so many amazing alternatives of really protein-packed foods, really heavyweight contenders that if people are after, protein-rich foods. Thank you so much for giving us a bit of a run down on the various kinds of beans, legumes, seeds, all amazing things that God has created for our own health. I remember even seeing Dr. McGregor. Dr. Greger. He's very famous online as being a plant-based doctor, and he says for optimal health, eat beans 3 times a day. morning, afternoon,
Yep.
breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's how you get optimal health. These foods are so healing, so amazing. Jeremy, thank you so much. We're looking forward to chat with you again next month, and I'm looking forward to see what you're going to be bringing to us. In the meantime, if you would like to buy some of Jeremy's books, he has a series called Revive Cafe Cook 30, cookbooks with recipes that are down to earth, they're healthy, they're delicious, and they only take 30 minutes or less to be cooked and prepared. If you'd like to know more about them, you can go online, look for Revive Cafe cookbooks, or you can text us here with #Revive, and we are going to send you a link to some of our favorite books of Jeremy's collection. And we're now going to be moving on to a next song. This is going to be by Ellie Hookham with Rock of Habitation. Enjoy that one. Stay tuned, and we are going to come back to talk about prayer.
Be thou to me a rock of habitation, to which I may continually come. Be thou to me the strength of my salvation, the rock that I stand on will never fall. For Lord, you are God, and I am unworthy. Thank you for loving me in spite of my sin, for your